She walked towards the edge. "Wait," Sarah said suddenly. "No, this is mad. You could kill yourselves." Zelda turned to her and said, "Oh, but Sarah, didn't you know? We're not conservationists." And then she jumped. They heard a splash. Scott looked at them, and he had the saddest look in his eyes that Gerald had ever seen. He looked down at his bare feet, and then, without a word, he followed her off the cliff. Thank you.
How important do you think, in fact essential, were the Murphys to creating the Lost Generation and that whole Riviera scene?
Yeah, well, it was said about them that they invented summer on the Riviera. So I suppose they were pretty essential. I think in a lot of ways they were muses, and I suppose when muses aren't actors, they become essential glue to holding, a group together. So you had a lot of temperamental people in that group of friends, a lot of artists who were competing with each other. And I think that, their sort of calmness and the beautiful life they create in their house in Antibes, which is called Villa America, drew people sort of like moths to the flame.
The whole kind of culture of artist patronage has kind of died a death, really. I mean, who do you think the modern day Murphys might be?
Their patronage wasn't money. They weren't these rich people who just sort of gave handouts to artists and hung their work on their walls. They were, the attraction was something about what was in them. It was this home they created that a lot of these people who lived abroad, these expatriates who were fairly transient at that point, found a place to sort of rest and to feel loved and to see, all of this sort of beautiful world they'd created at their house.
So there are many nods to modernism, both in terms of the artistic movement, but also the changing world throughout the novel. What do you think the Murphys would have made of our world, and in particular, the internet and social media?
Well, you and I were sort of having this chat, and I think you're right. I think they would have loved Instagram, and I think they would have loved it. They would have loved to have taken pictures of, Sarah had this sort of way of, instead of cutting flowers, she'd arrange parsley on that sort of gold plate or something. And I can sort of imagine a feed full of things like that, and Gerald with his paints, perhaps.
I read somewhere that your next book is set in Martha's Vineyard in the 80s. Is that right?
That's right. Wow, word travels fast. It is. Yeah.
Do you see parallels with the 20s Riviera and the Martha's Vineyard culture of the 80s?
I think, the thing the books will probably all have in common is that I have, I'm obsessed with like groups, with the gangs, whether it be your family gang or whether it be your gang of friends or whatever it is. But I think that sort of ensemble piece is what attracts me. And the 80s is, for me, such a nostalgic time. It's my childhood time, so it's linked with such intense memory,